Welcome back to Ivy's Mindset. I'm sure you had a great weekend. This week we are going to be introducing the new topic, institutions, what they are, the purpose they serve, and what it actually means to you. So, we have already established that value is the foundation of everything, and we have already established that systems exist to organize and protect value. But here's where it gets deeper. Systems on their own are fragile. A rule that nobody enforces is not really a rule. A currency that nobody backs is not really money. A law that disappears when leadership changes is not really a law. So humanity now had to solve another problem. How do systems last? How do they become permanent? How do they stand the test of time? And that is where institutions come in.
So what is an institution? An institution is a system that has become permanent. It is a structure that has been formalized, organized, and given the authority to operate continuously across time. Think of it this way.
A group of early merchants agreeing to trade gold coins for spices is a system. But when that practice evolves into a centralized bank with a physical vault, a board of directors, legal backings, and rules that survive even when the original merchants are long dead, that is an institution.
And just like systems, institutions do not appear randomly. Every institution you see in the world today exists because civilization kept running into a problem it could not solve individually.
Education as an institution exists because knowledge needed to be transferred across generations at scale. One teacher cannot reach so many students, but a school system, a university, that transfers knowledge to millions across centuries. Healthcare as an institution exists because human bodies break down and societies cannot function if their population keep dying from preventable causes. Banking as an institution exists because people needed somewhere safe to store value, and economies needed a mechanism to move capital from people who have it to people who need it. Government as an institution exists because large groups of people cannot coordinate, protect themselves, or make collective decisions without some form of organized leaderships.
Every single institution traces back to a problem that was too big for individuals to solve alone. Now here is something that most people never think about. Institutions are not just buildings or organizations, they are concentrated trusts.
When you deposit money in a bank, you are not trusting the specific building. You are trusting the institution, the rules, the regulations, the history, the authority behind it. When you sign a legal contract, you are not just trusting the other person. You are trusting the legal institution to enforce that agreement if things go wrong.
This is why institutional collapse is very devastating. When people stop trusting institutions, everything built on top of that trust begins to crumble. There is also something very important about how institutions shapes behavior. Institutions do not just respond to human behavior, they actively shape it.
The education system shapes what people know and how they think. The banking system shapes how people save, spend, and invest. The legal system shapes what people believe is right and wrong, acceptable and unacceptable. The media as an institution shapes what people pay attention to and what they consider important.
This means that if you want to understand why people in a society behave the way they do, why they make certain financial decisions, why they hold certain beliefs, why they accept certain limitations, you have to look at the institution that shapes them. People are not just individuals making free choices. They are product of the institutional environment that they grew up inside. Okay?
So now, let's talk about something that is rarely talked about. Institutions now could either be used for good or bad. A strong and effective institution lifts everyone inside the society that it serves. But a corrupt institution, it becomes one of the most powerful tools of oppression that exists because it has legitimacy, it has authority, and it has permanence. A corrupt banking institution can legally drain wealth from ordinary people through fees, interest structures, and lending practices designed to keep people in debt. A corrupt government institution can legally extract resources from population while delivering nothing in return. A corrupt education institution can produce graduates with credentials but no real skills, leaving an entire generation unprepared for the real world. The danger of institutional corruption is that it hides behind the appearance of legitimacy. It looks official, it looks structured, but it is hollow inside. This is why the strength of a nation's institution is one of the most accurate ways to tell if a nation is wealthy, if it's strong, if it's durable, and if it can stand the test of time. Research consistently shows that countries with strong, trustworthy, independent institutions tend to have higher economic growth, lower poverty, more innovation, and more stable societies. Countries where institutions are weak, captured by elites, or constantly undermined tend to struggle economically, no matter how much natural resources they have. You can have oil, you can have gold, you can have fertile land, but if the institutions that are supposed to convert those resources into national wealth are broken, the wealth flows out, usually into the hands of a very small group, while the majority remains poor. This is not an accident. It is what happens when institutions fail their fundamental purpose. So what does this mean for you? It means that understanding the way institutions work is not just an academic exercise, it is a survival skill. Which institutions can you leverage? Which banking institutions actually serve people like you? Which educational institution gives you the real skills you need instead of just credentials? Which legal structures protect your business and your assets? Which systems of government create opportunities versus which ones extract them from you? The people who build real wealth are not just hardworking. They understand the institutional landscape they operate inside. They know which institutions to work with, which ones to navigate around, and which ones to avoid totally. And here's one final thought I want to leave you with on institutions. The richest people in the world are not just rich, they are institutionally connected. The people who attain real wealth interact directly with institutions. They sit on advisory boards, they influence policies, they fund universities, and they shape the media. They do this because they understand something that most people miss. Whoever shapes the institutions shapes the rules, and whoever shapes the rules shapes the outcome. Building wealth is important, but building institutional influence, that is how real wealth becomes generational. These are some of the few things that many finance content don't talk about. And these are what we bring to the IV mindset. Now we have covered value, systems, and institutions. Now you see how deeply connected they are. Value initiates the need for systems. Systems, on the other hand, they bring up institutions. And now institutions they even bring up something bigger. When they interact with each other, they create what we call economics. And that's what we'll be covering up on our next video. I'll see you next week.